Hi, it's Kevin May, the Editor-in-Chief of PhocusWire. We're joined here at Arival 2018 by Dan Christian. You're the Chief Digital Officer of the Travel Corporation, so thanks very much for joining us this afternoon.
Great to be here.
Let's start with some general stuff about the industry and all these kind of people here, and then we'll dive in a little bit more about the Travel Corporation particularly.
Sounds good.
You're a significant player in this space. You sell via the trade, but you've got all these different brands. What's your general overview of what's kind of going on in this sector?
Yeah. Well, obviously it's a really exciting time to be here at the Arival conference, and when you've got 1,000 people that have come together for this particular venue, which was 300 last year, it kind of shows you what's happening in this space. And I was here last year, as you know, and Travel Corporation is 29 brands globally that are primarily tour operators. So multi-day tour, as it's referred to, which is like Trafalgar, Insight, Kentucky. But then we also have day tour operators as well, like Evan Evans in the UK or Eight Kings in Australia. And so what I see here is, there's venture capital money flowing in, there's new platforms and distribution channels, and you have a large established player like us that's really innovated our business model and remained relevant, and all of a sudden the sun is shining on our space, and everyone wants a part of it.
Yeah.
So it's a privileged position to be in, to be in travel, to be in digital, and to see all of a sudden this much emphasis being put on this sector.
With that in mind, I mean, you say you're an established player, you've been around for a long time, and you've seen all this kind of happen over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, what have you had to do as a business to kind of meet the digital challenge, for want of a better phrase?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's certainly been my focus since I joined TTC nearly 6 years ago. First as the VP of Digital, and then moving up to the Chief Digital Officer, and that kind of reflects the need for, travel really now is digital. And what I mean by that is not that we're a technology company, because we're not confused about that. We are very much a travel company that's utilizing technology for better customer experiences, better distribution of our product, that we now refer to as experiences. And so for us, it's been about re-platforming all of our brands. So over the last several years, we've relaunched every brand's website and improve that customer experience, both for B2C and B2B, because we are generally channel agnostic, and most of our business does come from trade partners. So we've improved the platforms that they utilize with us and how they access our product. And that's been a big shift for us, and certainly a big focus and discussion here is distribution and how we actually can make our product accessible to partners so they can sell in multiple different ways, including online.
Okay. So, how does it work? Is all the brands on a central platform?
Yes, so our multi-day tours are, so Insight, Kentucky, and Trafalgar are three largest multi-day tour operators, truly global companies. They're all on the same reservation platform, and the great thing about the way that that's come about is that they're also now available from the same API feed. So we have this V4 API that we work with partners like Tour Radar on, and several others that are now interested in obviously leveraging that. And so they take that complete feed of all of our product, but we still have challenges, of course. No company does faces a shortage of technology challenges in today's world, and a lot of our smaller brands, so the decisions we're trying to make is how do we make sure that where we go one, we go all. So many decisions that we make with our smaller day tour brands about channel managers or the distribution platform is that we're making the same decisions consistently. Right. And that's a shift for us.
So how does it work from a digital perspective then? Because you've got all these different brands, but then they would work with individual suppliers on the ground.
Yeah.
So do they still manage those relationships in a non-digital way, or is that that's gone to the next step as well with digitalization, if those small suppliers of a rafting tour or something like that? How does that work?
Well, it's really interesting because obviously part of the success of this company over really generations, but certainly in the last 20 or 30 years, and in my time in the last decade, is that all of those established relationships is what kind of gives us a privileged position, and we haven't changed those dynamics. So our brands have always been looked at as really entrepreneurial, independent, able to have a reasonable amount of autonomy, and we've maintained that. So those relationships are paramount, in some cases sacrosanct, that we need to maintain those local relationships. And where possible, where it makes sense, we're trying to centralize, but we're not doing that for the sake of cost efficiencies, or it's really just trying to make sure that as we scale this business, that we're learning from what is working and trying to apply that. But so much of this industry is built on relationships, as you well know.
Indeed.
And it continues to be. And so there's some interesting nuances about our company that I think gives us an existing competitive advantage over new entrants into this space, because obviously we've really honed those relationships over time.
But back to those individual brands and the suppliers that they work with. I imagine some of them are very competent and able to do the technical things that your individual brands would want from a supplier, but some maybe, they may be an integral part of how that brand operates at Dur, but they're still just maybe a family-owned business in a very remote location or something like that. So how do you kind of, I'm not saying preach that they need to do certain things, but how do you manage that?
Of course, well, yeah, no, so I mean, there are smaller brands in our group, like Down Under Tours, that's based in Cairns in Australia, and their system and setup is well designed for their business needs. So there's certain things that we don't necessarily have to go in and change unless there's a real need or a benefit. And so, they work with local partners. They have, they run a great business there, and so giving them the continued autonomy where beneficial. And then we have other brands like AT Kings, which is connected to that, which, they have a whole variety of experience. They do day tours, they do multi-day tours. They have, they're looking at different channel partners. So when we see a brand like that, and here we are, we're talking about Bokun and Fair Harbor and Resdy, and these are fundamental questions that we all have to answer right now with regards to how we're going to go forward. So there are opportunities like that where we have one particular provider in our group that may be working with a Resdy, and then we recognize that we need to work with a Fair Harbor or Bokun and open up those opportunities. So that's where, in certain cases, we need to bring some of those smaller businesses along based on the global imperative.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, one of the conversations that always revolves around tours and activities is that it's an in-destination buy. Right. Now, obviously, you're selling a multi-day tour, which is more considered thought. But you work with travel agencies, so how do you kind of educate the travel agencies that this is a different type of purchase now rather than something you just go and do when you're in the resort?
Yeah, well, it's a very important question, because the reality is that this category of multi-day tours that have kind of been largely not highlighted in the last few years, and then all of a sudden now it's like, everyone wants to sell multi-day tours because more and more people are consuming them online, and a lot of those trade partners that are now taking those feeds, selling them online, people are actually looking for the end-to-end experience, as opposed to kind of the trend that I think most of us would assume would have taken place, where as soon as you were able to decompartmentalize a tour, you could book your Airbnb, you can, you book your own transportation, and you can try and find local activities. But the upward trend has actually been for those people that actually want, a fully immersive, culturally rich experience, traveling to a destination that's not familiar to them, and they want to know from end to end that that entire experience is going to be curated and taken care of. And that's where, for us, it's businesses continue to boom with more customers becoming aware of this category and choosing a multi-day guided tour, if you want to call it an escorted tour, a guided vacation, over other types of travel. So I think that's where there's enough business here for all of us. It's not a zero-sum game when it comes to direct or trade, or even our competitors' set. Yeah. We're seeing more businesses flow into this category.
So I mean, Airbnb has said this morning, in fact, that they were talking about their experiences thing, and it's very much individual experiences. But they said, they initially tried the multi-day thing, they reined it back in, but it's clearly something that they would like to do next. When they were doing multi-day, were you kind of nervously looking over and seeing what was going on there?
Not at all, and the reason I say that is because, and there was an article that came out maybe about a year and a half ago when I talked about the fact that Airbnb Experiences is actually like the greatest boon to all of us multi-day tour operators, because it's created more attention on our category. All of a sudden you have an accommodation provider looking to get into activities. So what you're seeing is like they are trying to diversify and grow their business by adding different verticals. But at the end of the day, we're reverse engineering what we already do really well, which is building a package holiday. Yeah. And so it created more awareness for what, for I'd say great companies that are innovating, that are doing multi-day tour well. Yeah. And obviously I like to think that we're a part of that. And so as that emphasis increased on being able to find accommodation, and you have, one of the big benefits of this type of travel, as you know, is it takes on the complexity, and there's the convenience, and obviously the fact that you just have someone that's going to take care of the end-to-end experience is what many people are seeking, and that's not something that Airbnb can provide. And so it'll take them time to get there, and obviously I highly respect their business, and
as most people seem to do a lot of the time. So I mean, it's interesting you said that they felt the need to diversify. Did the travel corporation have to diversify at some point as well?
Well, so We have in certain ways. So if you look at the fact that we're multi-day, we're day tour. We have river cruises as well, Uniworld. We also have a boutique hotel collection called Red Carnation Hotel. So those are the areas that we're focused on. We also do FIT travel, so independent travel, which is another exciting division for us. So we will have like independent tours of Ireland, but also our African safari product. So you have got Lion World and African travel. So the big thing for us is this new view that we have, which is how do we just make sure that someone who's traveling with one of our brands will continue to come back and continue traveling one of our brands over time.
And that's an inherent challenge because people do only travel generally once a year for a product of that type, so it's keeping in front of mind, which I suppose in a way is hard when you sell most of the stuff through the trade.
Yeah. Well, see,
you're relying on them being loyal to their agent rather than to you, almost.
Well, not necessarily. So that's the interesting thing is because we had not done an effective job before of telling the Travel Corporation story, TTC.com, helping people understand what connects the family of brands, like kind of the ethos of value and service and sustainability. And so now that we've done a more effective job of connecting our brands by virtue of tying them to TTC and helping them understand what makes it a TTC brand.
Right.
Our travel agents have responded really well to that because they now know that they can confidently sell any brand in the collection that'll deliver on a consistent experience and on that value and make sure that they're building repeat with us and for them. Because our focus is making sure that operational excellence is paramount. That's how this business has grown over time, right? As much as we're focused on marketing, distribution, I mean, really it's about customers having an incredible trip and coming back. Okay. And so they come back and book with our travel agent partners. Mm-hmm. But what we've actually found, one last thing on this, is that if they come and they book direct with us, our commitment to our trade partners is that we will then pay them back the commissions. We don't ever seek them to come direct after they book with a trade partner.
That's a wider conversation about just distribution in the travel industry, but that's interesting that you do that.
So, and that's our commitment to them, and that's our philosophy with this 10-year wallet of this idea of making sure that customers stay traveling within our group of brands. Yeah. So if they come back and choose to book with another brand, then we make sure we give the originating agency credit for that, which is another reason why obviously they love working with us. So.
Okay, right, Dan Christian, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.